tighten your lines as we get ready to sail the 7 seas on the Political Pirate Podcast. Join Captain Ted Yoho and the salty dog John Martin as they search far and wide for the greatest treasure of all, the truth. From local Florida news to nationwide stories and the globe beyond, we've got it all mapped out. Now here's your hosts, the salty dog John Martin and Captain Ted Yoho.
Well, good morning, everybody, and welcome to the 3 Ps, the Political Pirate Podcast, featuring the old salty dog, John Martin, as your host, and the captain of our pirate ship from where else? From down in the Florida Keys, Mr. Ted Yoho. Good morning, Ted.
Good morning, John. Good to see you. You don't look that salty. You look good.
I'm just basking in the government shutdown.
Yeah, really. Again.
No, I keep waiting on the pound on the door and say, we're shutting you down or whatever. But, it looks like you'll be able to survive the shutdown down there, my friend.
I think we will be able to.
You could probably just throw a line out the back there and reel in dinner, couldn't you?
You know I can. You said it's right there.
I hear you.
We're all better off with less government, so I don't think it'll be real bad. They're going to make hay out of this, the Democrats and the media, everything's involved. All these people are going to die because of the shutdown. No, it's not. It's just the typical thing that we see over and over again, and it needs to stop. And we can talk about how we stop that.
Yeah, we're going to get into that. We're going to use as kind of a template, an article from the Daily Signal that you sent me, Ted. Yeah. And the title of it says, Democrats own this government shutdown, according to GOP senators. I want to read this first line, and then I'll turn it over and let you just talk about it. Republican senators are condemning their Democratic colleagues for failing to agree on funding the government. So basically, the Republicans are blaming the Democrats, and of course, the Democrats are turning around and blaming Republicans. What are your just general thoughts on where we are, and then we'll get into some more details.
Well, currently, right now, let's just talk about the now. If we go back to when Schumer voted for this, back before we got into the mess we're in now with the continuing resolution, he voted for the same package along with several other Democrats. And now they're voting against the very same package. And so that's disingenuous. The other thing, John, is when I came into Congress in 2013, we were at $12 trillion in debt. $12 trillion in debt. And CRs were something that very rarely happened. Since then, here we are in 2025, and we're at $37+ trillion in debt, paying $1.3 billion a day in our interest. And it's the same story you hear. It's the Republicans' fault or it's the Democrats' fault. And we're the ones that are suffering. We're the ones, the American people. And when does this come to an end? I mean, how do you bring this to an end? And it's not by electing politicians that are there year after year, and they sit there, bitch, moan, and complain about the shutdowns, and they don't do anything in that interim between the shutdowns from the beginning of the year till now. And they're like, oh, my God, how did we get here again? And it's their fault. No, it's their fault. And I think the American people are sick of that. That's what started the Tea Party revolution. And Trump is a byproduct of that, and they want to blame Trump for this. It's not Trump's problem. It's the ineffectiveness of government.
Well, I like how you kind of asked that rhetorical question. Is it the Democrats' fault? Is it the Republicans' fault? And the answer is really simple. Yes. Yes, it is. It's both of them's fault for various reasons. But I want to quote a Senator James Lankford, Republican from Oklahoma. He said, unfortunately, hardworking Americans and millions of federal employees are left to pay the price for their politics, talking about the Democrats. But I want to ask you, isn't it really just politics as usual right now? Isn't that, the details are maybe different, but what's really happening is politics as usual now.
I know James. He came in, I think he was on the first Tea Party wave in 2008 or 2010. And he's a nice guy, but he is just, he's establishment, even though he was supposed to be Tea Party. And if we go back to the immigration bill that was supposed to be bipartisan, he's the one that was the bipartisan part on the Republican side. And I think it allowed for 1,800 illegals a day to be able to come in. And if you take that out to over a year, 365 days times that, I think it comes out to 1.8 million people coming into the country illegally that they're going to say, oh, that's okay. So that's James Langford. And I like James. He's a nice person, a Christian, and all those good things. But it's the same story that, hardworking Americans are going to hurt. All Americans are going to be hurt if they don't get this debt under control, because what's happening is that's leading us to a collapse in our currency. And that's where people really need to focus. Our currency collapses, game over.
Yeah, well, you mentioned Mr. Langford, and I'm not saying he intentionally did this, but this was the effect of what he did, what you just talking about. If you go back and look at the campaign against Kamala Harris, and before that, Biden coming into Kamala Harris, he basically gave them the issue, gave the Democrats the issue of, well, Donald Trump is the only reason why we can't stop him at the border. If he would just had not told the Republicans not to vote for this bill that Biden put forward, all would be well, which we know that President Trump said in his basically his State of the Union speech, that it turns out all we really needed was a new president. But your fella from, let me get his name right, James Langford from Oklahoma, he basically set that up for them to use that. I'm not saying he did it intentionally. I don't know about that, but it certainly was the effect.
It certainly was. And they used that. And like you so adamant or very well said, Trump said all we needed to do was have a new president that was going to enforce the laws on the book. It's political rhetoric. It's political BS, and the American people are tired of it. And the way we fix that is in these next elections. Anybody that has been there, 6 years, 8 years or longer, reevaluate them. If they're your representative, if they're part of the problem, and if they've been there that long and they're not standing up, raising Cain about the silliness of this thing, vote them out. Put somebody else in there. Put a new chip in there. And where it really needs to change, John, is at the beginning of the Congress. You've got that 2-year period of time where you set the agenda. And if they would go to a 2-year budgeting and they would fund the government for 2 years, you're out of these CRs, and then focus on getting your 12 appropriations done in the first 6 months of that 2-year block and get that done, because that's really the work Congress is supposed to do. None of these other bills matter, really. They don't really matter. But once you get the appropriations done, now you can move on, and you're not going to have these continuing resolutions or the government's going to run out of money by September 30th. If you do what you're supposed to, you're beyond that, and you're working to fix the problems. And then you can focus on the things that really matter to the future longevity of this country and the prosperity and posterity of it.
Well, while you were talking about the continuing resolution, I got to thinking about, if you as a private citizen live like that, you would go broke. In other words, if you and your wife didn't, have some basic agreement about your budget and your income and how you're going to spend that. Every couple is different. But if you had continuing resolutions, you would absolutely end up bankrupt. There's no doubt.
Well, I think that's a big reason, or a big factor when you elect somebody. What's their background? Carol and I came from nothing. I mean, we were broke as a church moms. We worked our way up, and I've been broke, and I've been in places where I've had less money than I wanted, and I've had places where we've had sufficient money. And what I've learned early on is better to have a little bit more than a little bit less, a little bit sooner than a little bit later. We know how to fix things. We know how to get our budget under control and do that. But there's so many people up there. This is the easiest job they've ever had and the highest paying. And that's scary, because all they're doing, and that's the definition of a politician, they're worried about their next election. They're not worried about really fixing anything. Listen to what they're saying. Oh, the Democrats did it. Now, if the Democrats get in charge, God forbid, the Republicans will say, well, the Democrats did it. And the Democrats say, well, the Republicans did it. Shame on those bad people. I want to fix this. I'm fighting for you. No, you're not. If you're fighting for you, we would know it.
Well, really, Ted, if you think about it, as far as the politics of the left, right, Republicans, Democrat, I always go back and think about what a kind of a mentor and friend of mine, I know a dear friend of yours, Tom Hayes Morrison, said.
Yeah.
That basically we've got one party, and it's the party of big government. And the Senate is really like this. It has a left wing and a right wing, but it's one big party. And the best example is why we're here where we're at now. And I'm not advocating necessarily doing away with the filibuster, but there's a reason why neither side really wants to do away with the filibuster, because it keeps business as usual there, and it empowers the Senate to be like even above the president in some ways.
I remember when Tom Hayes Morrison said that the first time. I got thinking about that, and that's really true. The party of big government. You know, go back to the Jeb Bush campaign when he was running against Hillary Clinton, but then he dropped out. He had $100 million amassed, and so the Republican Party says, "Here's your candidate, conservative Americans. It's Jebby Bush." And then the Democrats had Hillary Clinton. Here are you Democrats. Here's Hillary Clinton. So the party of big government, they picked your candidates and presented to you. You know, luckily, Donald Trump came out of nowhere, and enough American people said, we want him in there because he's not business as usual. And he sure has proven that, hasn't he?
Yeah, kind of like Ted Yoho when he got elected, kind of came out of nowhere. I remember that. And I was thinking about this while you were talking about Jeb Bush, and I'm going to put you on the spot. In all the time you were campaigning leading up to your election and subsequent re-elections, did you ever give a speech where you had to turn to the crowd and say, please applaud, or now's the time to applaud? I mean, that had to be the worst thing I've ever seen, when Jeb Bush, former governor of Florida, in a crowd of only about 20 people, had to say, you know, please clap. I mean, I knew he was done right then.
What did Trump call him? Low energy Jeb? But again, you know, it goes back to the party of big government. And I'm glad you brought that up, because that really is what's kept this mess going. So the way you get rid of that is throw those people out. I mean, they're nice people. And again, it was like Cliff Stearns when I ran against Cliff. I heard him on that radio broadcast, and he said, when I came to Congress 18 years ago, we started working on an energy policy for America to be energy independent. I'm like, 18 years and you can't get it? You don't know what you're doing. Get out of here. And he's a great guy. He's a nice guy. And I don't mean to demean him, but if you can't get those problems solved, somebody's not working, or you're not making enough noise up there. And I'm glad I limited myself to 8 years. I'd be in a straight jacket with a rubber helmet on.
I hear you, man. Well, we're going to keep going with this article. I want to read a comment right now from Cynthia Loomis, a Republican senator from Wyoming. It says here, Chuck Schumer and his Democrat colleagues could have easily prevented a government shutdown by voting for the clean, bipartisan continuing resolution, as you pointed out, that they had already. And then they said, but it passed in the U.S. the exact same bill that they did 13 times before, or supported by 13 Democrats. I'm sorry. But it got me to thinking about it, because the Democrats are saying, well, the Republicans, are saying that the Democrats want to give health care to illegals, but the Democrats are turning around and essentially saying that's not true at all. We don't give any money to illegals, which we know is not true, but we've not ever supported that. It's amazing how they don't realize there's video out there, and that we just want to give health care to Americans. But I want to play this video, and you may remember it, Ted, from 2019. Now, this is, unfortunately, the leaders of the Democratic Party, really to a certain extent, absent AOC still today. And this is about a 20-second video, and I think it pretty much sums up whether they're lying about wanting to give health care to illegals. Check this out.
Right.
These government health care plans that you've proposed in one form or another. This is a show of hands question, and hold them up for a moment so people can see. Raise your hand if your government plan would provide coverage for undocumented immigrants. Okay, let me start with you, Mayor Buttigieg. Why?
And like you just said off here, Ted, there you have it. Every one of them raised their hand. And I think if you go back and look at that video, I think Biden looked around and went, yeah, me too. I mean, that just showed you that he was already out.
Like the rest of them.
Yeah. Count me in. I'm in. They sit now right there. You have every single leader of the Democratic Party and all the ones now are the same, basically saying, yes, we support health care for illegal immigrants. And just the facts on this, Ted, they just did a recent study that out in California, they have literally spent billions, not millions, but billions of dollars on illegal immigrant health care, to the point that they basically almost went bankrupt from it. And what happens is it's a lot of sleight of hand. It's not necessarily, okay,
no, tell me that's not true. Sleight of hand in politics?
Sleight of hand. It's not necessarily, here's your check for, $10 billion for illegal health care. It's like, okay, we're going to give you $10 billion over here, and you just transfer that money over here. So it's all sleight of hand. So you can't go back. It's a money laundering business is basically what Congress and the Democrats especially have been doing, but Republicans have been guilty of it as well.
They sure have. And you talk about a sleight of hand, and this kind of throws me back to when Paul Ryan was there, and he was trying to get, it was Trump's first term, brand new, and they're trying to get him to pass for this replacement, supposedly replacement of Obamacare. And you talk about a sleight of hand, and Paul Ryan called me into his office and says, I need you to vote for this. I said, I'm not voting for it. He goes, why? Says, it doesn't repeal Obamacare. He goes, yes, it does. I says, Paul, it doesn't. You know it doesn't. And I said, that's bucket one, bucket two, bucket three. And bucket one does this, bucket two does that. And he goes, it's a replacement. I says, you've just changed the name, Paul. And I'm taxing John to pay in subsidies so that I can give those to this guy. I says, you haven't repealed it, and you're misleading President Trump. And I says, I will not support it. And I got invited to the White House and said the same thing to the president. And that was an interesting conversation.
Yeah, well, it kind of reminds me of something that Mandami said just recently on The View. I don't know if you saw his interview on The View. It was kind of interesting. But they asked him, well, Donald Trump is saying that you're a communist. And he said, well, I'm not a communist. I'm a socialist Democrat, or Democrat socialist. And they said, well, what does that mean? He said, it means that I want a dignity for all human beings, which is total word salad. Of course, they didn't follow up. But basically, that means that they want your money and give it to everybody else. That's what they want.
And as we know, all communists are socialists until they reach socialism, and then they turn into communists. I mean, wake up, America. Wake up, New York City. You do not want this. Of course, if you've got AOC there and she's leading the pack, you get what you deserve.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Ted, I want to keep digging into this shutdown because it's big news, but I don't want to chop it up too much. So we're going to go ahead and take a quick commercial break, and we'll come back and talk about this a little bit more.
A lot to talk about.
Yeah, I've got some interesting videos to play as well that we need to comment on. So please sponsor our program. Look at the and support our sponsors. If you want to be one, look at the little tagline that says "Contact Freddie," and we'll be right back, Ted.
Well, and with your help, are we off?
No, go ahead.
Although the owner of Lewis Oil Company maintains Although the owner of Lewis Oil Company maintains she is 29, Lewis Oil turns 60 years old in June. Chevron would like to recognize the North Florida second-generation family-owned business, celebrating its growth and staying power. Lewis Oil Company maintains significant on-hand supplies, strategically located fuel depots, a delivery fleet, on-site service, fuel card locks, and convenience stores. Lewis Oil Company understands its responsibility in the local economy by providing service and delivery on demand and in crisis. As a first responder for 18 Florida counties and the Southeast from Texas to Virginia, we are proud of this rare accomplishment. Lewis Oil delivers.
This is Ward Scott, and I want to thank all our sponsors who keep the show going and pay the bills. The Ward Scott Files premium sponsors are Crime Prevention Security Systems, large enough to serve you, small enough to care.
Meldon Law,
the only official injury partner of the Florida Gators. The Ward Scott Files Gold sponsors are Lewis Oil Company, Shoot GTR, On the Spot Dry Cleaners, R&R Construction, and Style Cuts. If you are interested in promoting your business on the show, you can visit our website, www.wardscottfiles.com, and click on the Advertise Here banner on the right side of the page, or call my friend Freddie at 352-284-3733. Again, thank you to all the great businesses that support the Ward Scott Files. And remember, if you like the show, thank our sponsors and support the businesses that support us.
What you just said is one of the most insanely idiotic things I have ever heard. Everyone in this room is now dumber for having listened to it. May God have mercy on your soul.
Or that very much surprises me that you've never been tased.
You can't handle the truth.
All bees poop.
A warthog.
I'll just go.
He's going to come up the steps.
Head's not back.
Here he comes. Oh my goodness, and he's huge. Hello, boy. Wonder if we can pet him. Hi, boy.
Can we touch him? No, don't.
Help me! Help! Help!
And we're back to the Political Pirate Podcast with yours truly, John Martin, and our captain of our pirate ship. I hope that old hog that we showed there, the warthog, didn't get him, but he'll be right back in anyway. So we were talking, when we went to break, we were talking about, there he is, Ted. I thought that old hog might have got you.
I had nightmares. Brought me back to being chased by those things.
Well, welcome back, sir. No ship is good. We were rudderless without our captain. Let's put it that way. So, Ted, when we went to break, we're talking about the government shutdown. And, of course, the Democrats, and rightfully so, are getting a lot of blame for this. But we're talking about Republicans, and business as usual and all of that kind of stuff. And I want to just say something that people might find controversial, because I'd love to get your opinion on it. I'm not letting Donald Trump off the hook on this either. Okay. Now, he is new to politics in the sense that this has been going on for decades, and he's just been a part of the actual process for now a second term. But the only real big disappointment, or by far the biggest disappointment that I had during Donald Trump's first term, was the fact that we did not get back to regular order, that we kept doing these continuing resolutions and just kicking the can down the road in general. And so with this term that he literally has 2 years, now a year and a half or less, to get this done. I'm willing to support this continuing resolution idea, with the idea that we have to win the midterms, because if we don't, Donald Trump is going to be impeached. Whether it's successful or not is another story. But if the midterms are turned over and the House flips, Donald Trump's going to be impeached. Love it, hate it, or whatever. That's
no doubt about it, John. And if they get the Senate, he'll really be impeached.
Absolutely. And one more thing. So to me, just to be clear, I'm willing to give the president the benefit of the doubt, because I'd rather have him than any. But after we retake the midterms, the next 2 years of his thing, one of his main focuses, in my opinion, needs to get back to regular order. I really believe we got to do that.
See, now,
explain what regular order is.
The regular order is not anything to do with the president. That's all the House and the Senate. Regular order is when you pass your 12 appropriations bill on time and you get your budget straightened out. The president, he submits a budget, and it's just his wish list is what it is. And then the House and the Senate decide what they're going to spend and what they're not going to spend, or defund. And so regular order is 12 appropriations out in time so that you can go right into, funding the government September 30th. And, the president, he can veto those bills, the spending bill when it comes across, and he can do some other things. He's put more action into the spending than we've ever seen a president in my lifetime. But yet he's just trying to upset the apple cart. And, it's Congress, it's the House and the Senate that are the ones that are responsible for this debacle. And Trump, he's throwing his Trumpism in there, and that's got everybody off a little bit.
Well, the only thing I'd say, and I agree with you 100%, with one small caveat: Donald Trump can hold their feet to the fire.
Oh yeah,
better than anybody probably in history.
Yeah,
they know that. So I would say this: support the Republicans over the Democrats in the midterm if you love the country, especially if you want to see Trump successful. But after that, Ted, if they don't get us back to regular order by the time Donald Trump and the next midterms roll around, all bets are off. Flush the toilet, get rid of all of them, and then start over. I mean,
this shutdown, this shall pass too. I mean, how many have we been through? And it's interesting. If you go back over history, this has happened very rarely, other than the last 10, 15 years. CRs happen very rarely. And Paul Ryan says we're not going to have any more CRs. And I think we're having CRs that were 48 hours. And I mean, we had more CRs under him than anybody. But it's a costly way of doing business. And it's just like in your household or your business, your bills come due at the end of the month. Well, our bills come due September 30th of a year. And they just keep saying, well, we don't have it worked out. So we're going to wait 7 days. We're going to wait 14 days. We're going to wait 3 months. And they still don't have it because they haven't done what they're supposed to do from January till now. And it just needs to end. And if we don't end this, John, I mean, you and I have talked to, Freddie, and he's been in 3 countries where the money has collapsed and it's gone to zero. And he says, you wake up one morning and they said the money's collapsed. It's down to 30% of its value. And you've got 30 days traded in. After that, it goes to zero. That's what we're up against here. And that's what the American people need to demand out of these knuckleheads up in Congress. I guess knucklehead, that was Tim Walz. He's gone.
Yeah. Well, go ahead.
Go ahead. No, you go ahead.
No, I was going to say, and I've said this before, but if I say it, it bears repeating. We've been labeled, we the Americans, as the new Romans. Well, if true, as the Democrats say, people need to keep in mind that Rome was destroyed from within. It wasn't a big total army that just conquered Rome. It was internal rot, which is what's happening to our country. And one of the reasons why you and I are doing this show.
It is. And you look at the garbage coming out of Washington, or out of Hollywood on the videos and all that in the movies, it's garbage. You look at the music industry on the liberal progressives, and we've talked about those disgusting songs that come out, and they get Emmys for this stuff. It's a decay of society, and that's what happened with the Greeks and the Romans. You get a decay of society and the moral and the very basic foundational principles, and you get a breakdown of the family, and the country dissolves. I mean, it's true. It's been repeated over and over again in history. We're smart enough. We have enough history. We have enough way to go back and look at this stuff to say we need to change directions. And Trump is changing that direction. Like him or love him, like you said, he's doing a shakeup in there that really needed to be done.
Well, all you got to do is look at what's coming up for the halftime. I don't know if you've followed this, the Super Bowl. They've hired this dude. I can't remember his name, but it's a guy in a dress that is pro-Hamas. And I mean, so whatever, man.
Well, I'll say right now, NFL, I'm not watching it. I could care less. If you're going to put that kind of garbage on there, I'm not going to watch it. What's that guy's name of the commissioner of the football thing?
Oh, Goodell.
Roger Goodell.
Roger Goodell.
Roger. I'm not watching it. Not that you care, but I hope a lot of other Americans don't either. I know Elon Musk has come out against it.
Absolutely. Well, when you talk about Elon Musk, we may have him. I mean, if they were, and I'm going to talk more about this in just a second, but Donald Trump could, this shutdown could be the left's worst nightmare, because if they think that Doge did something with that, wait till Donald Trump I don't think he's going to worry about the shutdown. I think he's going to be president, and he's going to do whatever he can to keep all his political.
They don't have a clue what's coming. Russ Voigt, he's head of the OMB, Office of Management and Budget. He is a hardcore shrink the government, and he has been waiting for this moment to where the government shuts down and the president can go in and eliminate a lot of these jobs that are deemed non-essential. And you're going to see a lot of these people leave. And so this is the Democrats handing this to Trump. And really, John, with the fiscal mess that we're in as a nation, we have got to cut corners, and we're not going to cut our way out of this. You've got to grow an economy too. And Trump's doing that by the tax incentives that he's inviting these companies back or putting tariffs on their products like the pharmaceuticals. And, it's messy and it's going to be painful. But if we don't do this, we're looking at a complete collapse.
Yeah, well, I've always hated that term "not essential," which came to popularity during COVID, because to me, I mean, first of all, how many employees, when you had your business, did you have on the payroll that were non-essential? Any? I mean,
in the private sector, no. And you brought that up, and I was there. My first government shutdown, we wouldn't raise the credit limit, and so it shut down, and I get blamed for it. And the government says all non-essential people don't come in, just essentials. And so I called up my chief of staff and I said, who's not coming in? He goes, well, these people didn't come in. They're non-essential. I says, you're calling them non-essential? They're a human being. They work for us. We hired them. You tell everybody to come in. And I had the guy, what's his name? He's the angry dentist, Mike Simpson out of Idaho. He asked me, and he was a Boehnerite. He didn't like me because I voted against Boehner and ran against him. He goes, yeah, I suppose you had non-essentials in your office that you let go because you didn't want to pay them. I said, nobody in my office is non-essential. So they were all there. And he was just, there's that attitude up there. They're non-essential. So, John, you come home, your wife says, you're non-essential. You're going to walk around long-faced and that you might smile and just say, good, I'll go fishing.
Yeah, well, I get some of that, Ted, already. I mean, my little granddaughter, I pick up quite often from school. She just turned 5 a couple of weeks ago, about a week or so ago. And when I get, and she says it, and the teachers and all laugh about it now, but when I come to pick her up, she goes, not you again. And I say, you're going to make these people think I beat you or something because she's right. Waiting on her mom, But
listen, I got to turn my video off. I'm going to keep talking, and my battery's about to die. It must not have charged last night. So go ahead.
Yeah, well, you need to do the essential. But let me finish on this non-essential real quick.
Sure.
The biggest reason I hated that term, first of all, like you said, like we were saying, if you're non-essential, why are you even working? But everybody who's drawing a paycheck, including federal workers, is essential to their family. It doesn't, if I'm pumping gas for a living, my paycheck is the difference on where the lights stay on at my house. So I am absolutely essential. But I want to say this, Ted, maybe, just maybe with this shutdown, and we'll play a video that kind of proves this, maybe the Republicans are negotiating with the wrong Democrat. And we're going to play this video right now. And she says, really, in her own words, why she is the one that people should be negotiating with. Can we play that?
Yeah.
My office is open, and you are free to walk in and negotiate with me directly. Because what I'm not going to do is tolerate 4 million uninsured Americans because Donald Trump decided one day that he wants to just make sure that kids are dying because they don't have access to insurance. That's what's not going to happen. And so if those senators think that we're having a shutdown because of me, they're free.
And there's your good buddy, Ted Ocasio-Cortez, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, saying that, maybe they need to be coming by my office as open, and she's in the House, not even the Senate, and negotiate with me. And maybe that's what they need to do.
It's funny because she has put herself at the top of the Democratic Party, not just in the House, but in the Senate. And Nancy Pelosi is all miffed about this because she goes, Hakeem Jeffries is the leader of the Democrat Party. Nancy, you might want to wake up because I don't believe so. And if you watch AOC, she has done an amazing growth and transformation. You know where I stand with her. But she is running for president. I mean, when she's talking, look at her hands. Look at the way she's doing. She looks at the camera and her mannerisms and her confidence level has gone way up. She's going to be a strong contender for the Democrat Party. I don't see anybody in there that can beat her unless Joe Manchin comes out of retirement and says, I'm running.
Well, there's no doubt about that, Ted. And one thing about it, love or hate or whatever, she's no dummy. Ocasio-Cortez is a very smart, polished person, and you can always tell how talented someone is as they improve. They may come in and be rough around the edges and all, but she really has upped her game.
She's
and
a Marxist progressive.
Her credit is due. When it comes to opponents, don't take her lightly. Do not take the Democrats lightly, because they're going to, when things are going well, Republicans tend to go back, take care of their families, work. I'm talking about voters, work, even people who lean Republican, the same thing. Democrats go back to they double down on activism. And we're seeing that right now. So do not rest on your laurels if you want President Trump to be there another 2 years after these midterms, because these Democrats are coming for blood, man.
They really are. And again, it goes to the motto of our program is to educate, motivate, and activate. We can't rest on our laurels. They are out there recruiting. And this is where Charlie Kirk is so valuable. And there's going to be a big bump, all these Turning Points USA on these college campuses. This is the time we've got to double or triple down. We've got to win the midterms. We've got to get a higher percentage in the Senate and run through those things we need to. And we're talking about the rise of AOC. Well, I want people to go back and listen to what she says over and over and over again. It's not healthy for America. It's not healthy for your children. It's not healthy for your grandchildren. If you want to live in a constitutional republic with the liberties and freedoms we've been blessed with, that all goes away under them. And if you want to see where that was, look at Kamala Harris and the things she says, or Hillary Clinton, and look at how they manipulated Joe Biden in tearing this country apart. And she is the one that would want to continue that on steroids, along with Madani and anybody else, Ilhan Omar, Rashid Tlaib. These are the people that they want to put in power. Absolutely not.
Yeah, well, it didn't really get talked about enough, Ted, but they talk about bellwether elections and all that kind of stuff. If you want to see a bellwether about what it would be like if the Democrats took over everything and basically had their vision come true, all you got to do is look at the counties along the Mexican border with Texas.
Sure.
They were solid blue for decades.
Yep.
Decades. And in the last election, they went solid red for Donald Trump. And the reason is because they felt the impact of Biden, AOC, and all their policies literally at their doorstep. And that's what the American people would feel if they got their way across the country. I don't want to see it come to that, but if you want to see how bad it can get, all you got to do is look at those districts.
You really do, and people don't get fooled by a pretty face that talks well on a camera. I mean, look at her policies. Gee, I mean, that's one of the things I had to confront her with. She was down there just lying, saying how the ICE agents were snatching children away from their parents and throwing them in dog cages and making the detainees drink out of the toilets for water, and just lie after lie. And the media ran with it because she was popular, and they built her up, and it was all based on lies and misdirection for this country. It's tearing this country down. Go ahead.
I'm sorry. I actually think people are wondering, when's the shutdown going to end and all that. Well, it could end today, literally, because they're going to take some votes later today about that. I don't think that it will end today. I think it will go for a while. But I think what might actually end it is what Donald Trump will do as president while they're there. I think he is terrifying the Democrats. They don't want to admit that. But he's definitely driving them crazy, Ted. I want to play this video that Donald Trump and the White House produced after Jeffries and Schumer met with him in the Oval Office. Check this out, and we'll come back and talk about it.
Have no voters left because of all of our woke trans bullshit. Not even black people want to vote for us anymore. Even Latinos hate us. So we need new voters. And if we give all these illegal aliens free health care, we might be able to get them on our side so they can vote for us. They can't even speak English, so they won't realize we're just a bunch of woke pieces of shit, you know, at least for a while until they learn English and they realize they hate us too.
The Democrats, like angry
Now,
librarians.
in fairness to them, Ted, that was all AI generated, but that may be in poor taste. I don't know. But like you said off there, Donald Trump, man, is funny. Is it mean? Probably, but it's not hateful. And we'll talk about that in a minute. But what do you think about that video, Ted?
Well, they say humor cures a lot of illnesses. And I mean, you can't help but laugh at it. I know Hakeem and Schumer, I know probably in their own private areas, they're laughing about it, saying, God, I can't, I'm sure they're upset too, but it is kind of hilarious when you watch it. You know, again, Trump is like anybody else we've ever had. And is it okay to poke fun at your enemies or the people that don't like you? Yeah, I think you should, to show the ridiculousness of everything that's going on. And again, when we have a CR that just gets moved on, that's one thing. It's costly to the government and the American taxpayer ultimately. But when you have a shutdown, that's really costly, because every contract that was submitted in DOD, in our Navy, Air Force, any buildings that a contract has been submitted, any office supplies that have been submitted, a contract, when a shutdown happens and it reopens, they have every vendor has to resubmit all those contracts. They have to go through the approval process again. Costs billions and billions of dollars. So that's what happens when we get a government shutdown. And if you're going to shut it down, well, by God, make something come good out of it. You know, let Trump go through there and eliminate a lot of these positions so you don't have to have extra office equipment. And Russ Voigt, I read about him. I know him. I've met with him, and he's very serious about reducing the size of the government. And I'm 100% with him on that.
Yeah, well, you know, whether or not it's in poor taste and all, here's the thing I would say about that. I got to give Greg Gutfield the credit for this. And by the way, Greg, have me on your show at some point. But
right.
I got to give him credit for saying this. He was saying basically about this, that the problem the Democrats have is they can't mock the stances that Donald Trump and the Republicans are taking. And as examples, I'll give you a couple of quick ones. You know, the Republicans are saying in this case, we're opposed to your tax money going to non-citizens, illegal immigrants. How do you make a joke about that? And then, you know, like the Republicans are saying, you know, men should not be in girls' locker rooms and competing against women. Boys shouldn't be, you know, in girls' locker rooms. How do you make a joke of mocking that? The opposite is easy to mock. So, so they've created their own thing.
They really have.
Yeah, absolutely. Go ahead. I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, I mean, they really have. I mean, they're arguing on the wrong side of the issues and get mad that nobody wants to support them. I mean, the wrong base doesn't want to support them, but don't tell them, John, don't tell them that their base doesn't want to support them because they're on the wrong side of the issues. Just to cheer them on. Hey, you're doing great. Keep doing what you're doing. Am I wrong?
Well, if you want to see something that is dangerous that the left does, I want to play this quick montage of basically Democratic leaning media, which is most of them, and some Democrat officials themselves. Check this short video out. I think it pretty much speaks for itself.
But before you go to that, I want you to remember what Obama said. Words have consequences. They have actions that happen because of your words. And then they said that what's going on is all the Republicans and conservatives and Trump's fault, that there's violence. But watch what they say and then come forward 2 to 3 years after that was said.
Absolutely. Check this out.
I don't think it's hyperbolic to say that. I mean, that is Mussolini, Hitler-like language.
Trump's affinity for Hitler was always covered under an umbrella of his stupidity.
Echoing Hitler's words.
Listen to this. Well, Hitler was duly elected.
That's right. Echoing the hateful rhetoric of Adolf Hitler.
It echoes Hitler.
That's the kind of language
Hitler used in Mein Kampf.
About vermin and Hitler and Mussolini.
That's a horrifying clip. That's a fascist clip.
Just going full on Hitler.
From Hitler's Germany.
We just need to say, for the record, that the term vermin was really effectively used by Adolf Hitler.
Echo dictators like Hitler.
With language evoking authoritarian figures like Adolf Hitler and
Donald Trump parroted
And Ted, to add on to what you said right before we watched that video, what you said about Obama is absolutely true. But what have the Democrats been saying and about like Charlie Hurt, his assassination? Language is violence, right? I mean, they're the living proof of that term.
Yeah, and look at what they were attacking. Remember how they were attacking Christians and then people that liked American. So they come up with a phrase, Christian nationalists, like it's a bad thing. Well, I'm a Christian, so that's a good thing. I love my country, so, I'm a nationalist. So a Christian nationalist is a bad thing. So they demonize that. And you know what? I hope they keep doing what they're doing and they stay out of power for a very, very, very long time. And I hope a younger generations of the liberal side grows up that can see the nonsense of what they did. I'm reading that book of Andrew Jackson's. And it was right when 1832, 1833, when there was South Carolina was going to secede from the Union. And he gave a speech and he said, the imperative thing, the most important thing is that we stick together as a union. Because if we fall apart as a union, we're going to have 27 states back then, 27 individual governments that are going to trade with foreign nations and all that. And we'll lose our credibility, we'll lose our status, we'll lose our security and liberty, and it'll be gone forever. That was in 1832. Here we are in 2025. We're going through the same thing right now. And the important thing is we have got to come out of this as a United States of America.
Well, yeah. Well, you go back to the founding of the Declaration of Independence, when coming out of there, I'm trying to remember who said it. I'm sure you'll probably know, but they said, when they signed the Declaration of Independence, they basically said, well, we better hang together or we'll surely hang separately.
I think it was Benjamin Franklin.
Yeah, absolutely. Old Ben, man. I
old sage.
I like dead presidents. I like dead inventors, man. Give me the hundreds. But anyway, so we're going to move on quickly here to another big story that's literally happening as we speak. And that is the president has expanded federal presence across major U.S. cities beyond D.C. Right now in Memphis, Chicago, and Portland, there's a bigger federal presence there. Some include National Guard, some do not. But what are your general thoughts about all of that right now, Ted?
I think this is something that should have happened a long time ago. I mean, for these cities to allow groups like Antifa and these rioters, I mean, it's been going on for over 100 days. They're causing mayhem there. And then with the ICE, I don't want to call them raids, with ICE trying to uphold the law and get rid of the people that shouldn't be here anyways. And the protesters are siding with the illegal people and the criminal element that's here. It just shows you that how out of balance we are. And so for the federal government to step in to protect their agents and to protect their facilities, federal facilities, if the governor of that state cannot do that, or the mayor of that town can't do that, the federal government has every right to. And Donald Trump's doing what he needs to. And you would think the message would go to these other states like Detroit, California, Philadelphia, and they would say, you know what, we need to get our own house in order. And that's what Trump's doing. You're not doing it, so we're going to do it.
Yeah, well, I want to give our producer a heads up. I was going to play a couple of other videos, but I think the next one I want to play is Gavin Newsom. Trump will send ICE to the polls. So if you could load that one up, Trump will send ICE to the polls. We'll talk about that in a minute. But Ted, so doesn't the president, and I think you've already kind of answered this, but doesn't the president have a responsibility, any president, let alone Trump, to protect federal property and federal agents? Like you just mentioned, they've been in front of that ICE facility in Portland for over 100 days now. And I could have shown this video, but I won't, where they basically just blocking the entrance. And every time an ICE agent has to leave the facility, bring in And keep in mind when I say this, what happened in Texas recently with the assassination attempts, they're threatening these officers, whether they're directly threatening them or not. The president has a responsibility to do that, right? To take care of that.
He really does. And I'm surprised that that's still going on. I would think they would put a buffer around there and those protesters couldn't get anywhere near that. And they have no business there. If they don't want the federal government coming down and enforcing the laws, if they want illegal immigrants here, change the politics. You know, it's like John Fetterman said, you don't go out and riot, you don't fight people, you fight at the polls, you win at the polls. And that's how our system of government works, our constitutional republic that uses a democratic process. Beat them at the polls. You don't do this kind of garbage. I mean, this is a third world country type of politics that they're doing. And it's like Hitler with the brown shirts. And I'm throwing the word Hitler out there with the brown shirts. It's intimidation. And they're saying Trump's trying to intimidate these people at the polls. Go back to when the Black Panthers were showing up at the polls with clubs in areas, and you had to vote Democrat basically, or you're going to get beat. If you're a conservative, white conservative, I don't want to say white conservative, if you're a conservative going there, they were there to intimidate you. The government didn't do a thing about that, but it was okay because it was on the Democrat side.
Well, you mentioned about that, the polls. I want to play this video if we got it teed up. Gavin Newsom, and he's giving you a reason why the Democrats are opposed to ICE right here. If we can play that, let's play it.
To be able to make change peacefully.
He knows he's going to lose the midterm elections. He's underwater, and he's weak in every category. Donald Trump is weakness masquerading as strength. He's weak in every key category. That's a fact, and I think it's an important fact. He knows that. And that's why he dialed not for votes, but he dialed for seats. He said he's, quote unquote, entitled to 5 seats. Called Greg Abbott, who was totally supine, said, yes, sir, and gave him the 5 seats in Texas to change the maps. He did the same thing in Indiana, Missouri. He's doing the same thing in Florida, likely Ohio, and we'll see what happens in Utah. And Democrats, we're going to hold hands, talk about the way the world should be, say it's just so unfair, maybe write an op-ed. Meanwhile, this guy's consolidating power. And so for us, we decided to push back and fight back. But it's not just that. That's the tip of the iceberg, rigging the midterm election because he knows otherwise he'll lose. When we kicked off the campaign, and this is important for people to understand, when we kicked it off at the Democracy Center in Los Angeles, he sent out ICE and Border Patrol to intimidate folks from walking in to our event. He ended up arresting this poor soul that was just trying to sell strawberries as collateral damage to intimidate us. That is a preview, Stephen, of things to come in voting booths and polling places across this country. He federalized 4,000 National Guard in my state. He still has hundreds of federalized National Guard. He sent the United States Marines, not overseas.
And there you have it. This was just last week, and Gavin Newsom has said this several times. He's insinuating that Donald Trump is setting all this up so that at the midterms, he can have people at the polling places. Right. Now, here's the way I look at that, Ted. Forget whether he would do it or not. I don't think he would. But that is an admission that they're worried about illegal immigrants not being able to be around polling places. I mean, it's not a Home Depot, for God's sakes. They're not hanging out looking for work. So if he's worried about illegal immigrants hanging out at the polls, why would they be doing that?
Gee, I don't know. Maybe it's because of people like that superintendent in Iowa that was an illegal immigrant that had a voting card in Maryland. Again, it's politics. It's slimy. And the thing, I use the word slimy about Gavin Newsom, and it brought up Bill Clinton because he reminds me of Bill Clinton, the way he's got his leg crossed and talking like this. And he's running for president, obviously. And it's interesting how he says states like Florida has gerrymandered and rigged the districting. There's a reason. It's because Republicans have moved here, and we've gone up from being 1 million Republicans short about 5 years ago to we're almost 2 million Republicans more. And that's not because we changed the voting districts. It's because people moved to the free state of Florida, thanks to Governor Ron DeSantis and the Republican conservative legislators that are here in this state, and people are voting with their feet and their pocketbooks. And Gavin doesn't get that. He thinks you got to rig the elections. And he's blaming Trump for rigging the elections, but who rigged them before?
Absolutely.
And it's typical of what Democrats do is they blame the other side to doing exactly what they did.
Well, Ted, we're pretty much out of time, but if we got any minute or two left, I want to play this video if we can set it up real quick, because I like to give people a little something to carry on the weekend and laugh. I don't even know if you've seen this, Ted, but this is Grady Judd, the sheriff of Lakeland, the sheriff of actually, what is it? I can't even think of the county right now, but anyway, he's one of our county sheriffs here. Check this out, man. It is so funny. I got to play it if we got it.
There's things in life you just can't believe. So you order up a prostitute, right? This prostitute lives with his mother, by the way. He's got a massive criminal history, a 21-year criminal history with 31 criminal charges. So you order up a prostitute, and that's what you think you're getting. Now, when you look at that, you go, wow, that's pretty rough, but, you know, any port in a storm. And then the next morning when you wake up, you find out this is who it really is. Yeah, we call that Coyote Ugly. You see, he's laying on your arm in bed. You go, well, it was rough last night, but I've sobered up. I think I'll just chew my arm off and ease away so I don't disturb him or wake him up. All right, so you think you're buying this, you're getting this. He's got 31 criminal charges, and heck, if you're lucky, he doesn't kill you overnight. There's things in life.
And as you reminded me off there, it's Polk County there. I would, you know, they say don't do the crime if you can't do the time. I would just say this. Don't do the crime in Polk County if you don't want to shine on the internet, because Grady will put you out there, buddy.
I guess the one thing about that is, and we hear it all the time, you don't get what you want. A lot of times you get what you deserve. That guy got exactly what he deserved. Anyway.
I hope everybody has a great weekend. Enjoy the government shutdown. Ted, you know, cast a line out your back door there and catch us a fish.
Saving money
man.
because the government shut down today, but they'll take it back when they open up.
There may not be any limits and all. Catch what you can.
That's right. That's right. We can go get a lot of red snapper.
Yeah, get some lobster, man. Anyway, I hope you've enjoyed the show as much as we've enjoyed bringing it to you. Have yourself a blessed, great weekend, Ted, and close us out.
John, I appreciate everything you did today, and you always did a good job. And I appreciate our listeners and our sponsors. Without you, we can't